The lava fields of Mustafar burn the same in every version of this story. The heat that peels the paint from a ship's hull, the ash that falls like black snow and never stops falling, the rivers of fire that carve their slow, patient paths through the rock and never once, in all the ages of the galaxy, run cold. This is a world that was old when the Republic was young, a wound in the crust of the galaxy, and it is here, it is always here, that the fate of everything comes to be decided. Tonight, it will be decided again. Darth Vader stands over the broken body of Obi Wan Kenobi, his master, his brother, the man who trained him from a boy, who taught him the forms of the lightsaber and the tenets of the Jedi, who laughed with him and bled with him across 1,000 battlefields of the Clone Wars, and who, in the end, left him to burn on the black shore of a lava river and walked away. The mining droids hum beneath the platform, indifferent machines going about their work while two legends tear each other apart above them. The lava roars, and somewhere far away, on the glittering spire world of Coruscant, an old Sith throws back his hood and laughs as he brings the 1,000-year Republic crashing down into the shape of his empire. This is the moment everything ends. The Jedi are dead or scattered. The Chosen One has fallen. The prophecy has curdled into its cruelest possible reading, and the galaxy has 3 decades of darkness ahead of it before a farm boy from this very desert, World's Twin, will fire the shot that begins to set it right. That is how the story goes. That is how the story has always gone. But this time, it is also the moment everything begins. Because as Darth Vader raises his blade to strike the final blow, as the Chosen One prepares to complete his fall and seal the fate of 100 billion souls, something reaches into the moment that should not be able to. Not the light side of the Force, not the dark. Something older than either. Something that has no name in the teachings of the Jedi or the Sith. Something that has watched this exact tragedy play out across 1,000 timelines, and has, for reasons that no mortal mind could ever hope to hold, decided that this one, this single thread out of infinity, will be different. A light swallows Mustafar whole. It drowns the lava glow, and the red of the blade, and the black of the armor, and for one impossible instant, the most cursed world in the galaxy is washed clean and white and silent. And when it fades, Anakin Skywalker is 9 years old again. He is standing in the sand. The twin sons of Tatooine are setting the way they set every evening of his childhood, staining the sky the color of a bruise. And he is small, and his hands are small, and he is screaming. Because he remembers all of it, not as a dream, not as a half-formed dread, but whole and entire and unbearable. The fall, the fire, the way Padme looked at him on the landing platform when she finally understood what he had become, the children he was promised and never held, the younglings in the temple who looked up at him as he ignited his blade, the master he cut down on this very world. He remembers dying in the black suit with the mechanical lungs, and he remembers being brought back to the beginning with every second of it intact, and 1,000 light years away, on a world she has not yet been taken from. A young Togruta child named Ahsoka Tano wakes from a dream that is not a dream, a red blade through her chest, a monster in a black mask, breathing through a machine, a monster who was once, impossibly, unbearably, the only family she had ever known. She wakes with her small hearts hammering and her montrals aching, and the knowledge, sudden and total, of a life she has not lived yet, and a war that has not started, and an ending she watched with her own eyes. She remembers too. 2 souls, torn loose from the very end of the story and flung back to its beginning, both awake, both aware, both carrying, in bodies far too small to hold it, the full and perfect memory of everything that went wrong. The question is not whether they can change it. Of course they can change it. They know every move on the board before it is made. They know the names of the traitors and the dates of the disasters and the exact shape of the trap that is closing, even now, around a republic that does not know it is already dead. The question, the only question that matters, is whether they can survive each other. What if the Force revived Anakin and Ahsoka and sent them both back to Episode 1? Let's explore the depths of it in this video. If you love ultra-long-form Star Wars what-if deep dives, the kind you can put on and sink into for a few hours, then settle in, because this is a big one. Get comfortable, and if you enjoy these journeys through the galaxy that might have been, consider subscribing so you never miss one. Now, back to the sand. 9-year-old Anakin Skywalker sits bolt upright on the thin sleeping mat in the cramped little hovel in the slave quarters of Mos Espa. His heart is hammering against ribs that are far too small to contain what he is feeling. His breath comes in short, high gasps. A child's breath, a child's lungs, and that is the first wrongness he notices before he notices anything else. He is breathing on his own. There is no machine doing it for him. There has not been for a long, long time. He looks at his hands in the gray light that leaks through the shutters, and he does not recognize them. They are small, the knuckles are unscarred, the skin is whole and brown and soft, a boy's hands, and the last time Anakin Skywalker looked down at his own hands, they were sheathed in black leather and closing slowly around the throat of the woman he loved. He is a child again, and he remembers being a monster. The hovel is exactly as it was. He knows this room. He knew it as a boy, and he mourned it as a man, and here it is again, unchanged, every crack in the plaster in its proper place. The little workbench where he built things, the scrap, and the wire, and the half-assembled protocol droid in the corner that he will one day finish and name. The smell of it, dust and machine oil, and the particular dry heat of a world with 2 suns. It is all so ordinary, and it is all impossible, and Anakin sits in the dark, and shakes, and tries to understand whether he has gone mad, whether this is some final torment devised by a dying brain, whether Sidious has found some new way to break him. And then, the door slides open, and his mother is standing there. Shmi Skywalker is young, that is what undoes him. She is young and unlined and alive, and she crosses the little room to her son the way any mother crosses to any frightened child in the night, and she gathers him up in her arms and murmurs that it was only a dream, only a nightmare, that he is safe, that she is here, that she has him. And Anakin, this ancient and ruined thing wearing the body of a 9-year-old boy, clings to her and weeps until he cannot breathe, because she is here, because she is warm and solid and real, because the last time he saw this woman, she was broken and dying in a Tusken camp, and he held her as the light went out of her eyes, and then he took his blade, and he slaughtered every living thing in that camp, the men and the women and the children too, and that was the first great door he walked through on the road to the mask. She strokes his hair and asks him what he dreamed, and he cannot tell her, because there are no words, and because she would not believe them, and because he would sooner die a second time than put those images into his mother's gentle mind. So he only holds her, and shakes, and slowly, slowly, the certainty settles into him, hard and cold and absolute, the first decision of his second life. Whatever else changes, whatever else he ruins, however this impossible gift twists in his hands, and he knows, oh, he knows better than anyone alive how gifts can twist. She lives. This time, his mother lives. He will burn the galaxy down to its foundations before he lets that Tusken camp come to pass again. He does not yet understand how terribly familiar that thought is. He does not yet hear, in his own private vow, the first quiet echo of the thing that damned him. I will burn it all down before I let them take what's mine. He has thought that before. He thought it on Mustafar, but grief has a way of drowning out warnings, and so the vow settles in unexamined, and the boy holds his living mother in the dark, and outside, the 2 suns finish setting over a galaxy that has, without knowing it, just been handed its most dangerous second chance. Morning comes to Mos Espa the way it always does, brutal and bright. The first sun cresting the dunes before the second has fully risen. Anakin walks the streets. He walked 10,000 times as a boy, and he sees them now with the eyes of a man who lived a whole life and lost it. Everything is smaller than he remembered and sharper than he remembered, all at once. The market with its awnings and its haggling, the moisture evaporators standing sentinel on the outskirts, the other slaves, the ones he grew up beside, going about their labor with the particular stoop of people who own nothing, not even themselves. He knows their faces. Some of them he watched die later in one way or another. Some of them simply vanished from his story the way people do. All of them are here now, alive, ordinary, unaware. And going up over the doorways and across the plaza, bright and gaudy and unmistakable, are the banners of the Bunta Eve Classic. Anakin stops in the middle of the street and stares at them, and something in his chest goes very still. He knows what is coming. He knows it the way you know the plot of a story you have read 100 times. In a matter of days, he could count them if he let himself. A Jedi will walk into Watto's shop out of a sandstorm. A Jedi, and a girl who is secretly a queen, and a Gungan, and an astromech droid he will one day trust with his life. and a boy's whole existence will pivot on that meeting, and everything that boy is, and everything he will become, will begin. Right there, in the dust and the heat, with a stranger's kind eyes, and a question about pod racing. The first time, Anakin thought it was the best day of his life, the day the Jedi came, the day he won his freedom, the day he met her, the day he met Padme and looked up at her, and something in his 9-year-old heart decided, with the terrible certainty that would define and destroy him, that he would love her forever. Now he knows the truth. Now he knows that the best day of his life was the first day of the end of the galaxy, that every good thing that walked in out of that sandstorm was a thread in a net that Sidious had been weaving since before Anakin was born, that the freedom was a leash, and the love was a wound, and the kind-eyed Jedi was a dead man, walking who would hand Anakin off to a council that feared him from the moment they laid eyes on him. And so, standing in the street beneath the fluttering banners, Anakin Skywalker makes the decision that will define his entire second life. He is not going to let the galaxy carry him downstream. He is not going to be swept along the same river, to the same roaring waterfall, while telling himself the whole way that he is choosing his course. He has been that boy already. He knows exactly where the current goes. This time, he steers. He does not yet know how completely that single decision will set him on a collision course with the one other person in the entire galaxy who shares his impossible curse, the one other soul who remembers the future, the one who, even now, is looking up at a different sky on a different world, remembering the same war and the same fall and the same mask, and drawing from those identical memories a conclusion that is the precise and terrible opposite of his own. "I'm going to fix it," the boy whispers, alone beneath the banners, to no one at all. "I'm going to fix all of it." But a slave child on the farthest edge of the galaxy has almost no power to change anything. Not yet. He cannot fly to Coruscant and put a blade through the senator who will become the emperor. He cannot warn a Jedi council that would sooner imprison a strange, dark-eyed slave boy than believe his impossible tale. He is 9 years old, and he is owned, and the sum total of his power in this moment is a half-built droid, and a talent for machines, and a secret too enormous to speak aloud. And underneath all his resolve, kept in a locked room in the back of his mind, is the one truth he cannot bear to look at directly, the truth that will shadow every single choice he makes from this moment forward, whether he acknowledges it or not. The last time he tried to save everyone, he damned them all. 1,000 light years from the desert, on the tall grass world of Shili, a small Togruta girl sits very still in the dark and tries to remember how to be a child. Ahsoka Tano is not yet a Jedi. In this moment in the timeline, she is years away from the day Master Plo Koon will find her, a bright, unmissable flare in the Force, and carry her off to the great temple on Coruscant to begin her training. She has no lightsabers. She does not yet know the forms, has not yet stood before the council, has not yet been handed to a reckless young knight named Anakin Skywalker to be his Padawan learner. She has the body of a small child, and the reflexes to match. Montral's barely grown, legs too short to run the way she remembers running, and she has the memories of a war hero who watched her entire galaxy burn. It is, in almost every way, worse for her than it is for him. Anakin at least woke into a body that will grow, in time, into the power he already knows how to wield. His curse comes with a promise: wait, and you will be strong again. Ahsoka woke into a life that has not even begun. She woke on a world the story does not visit, far from every lever of power, far from the temple, far from him, with nothing but the knowledge that the man who will one day become her master, her closest friend, and finally her would-be murderer is out there in the galaxy right now. A child, like her, somewhere in the sand. She sits in the dark, and she lets it come, because there is no stopping it. Order 66. She remembers the exact quality of the light on the day the clones she loved turned their weapons on her. Rex, her Rex, fighting the programming in his own skull, screaming at her to run. She remembers the long fall, and the improbable survival, and the years of hiding after. She remembers the siege of Mandalore, and Maul's yellow eyes, and the moment she felt the Force itself convulse as half the Jedi in the galaxy died in the space of a single hour. She remembers building a life out of the ashes, becoming a ghost, becoming a legend, becoming Fulcrum. And she remembers the Star Destroyer, years and years later, the masked thing that came for her out of the dark, and the moment his blade cut through her defenses and split the mask, and she saw, for one heartbeat, a sliver of the face beneath. Anakin, still in there, buried under all that ruin, still, impossibly, Anakin, and she remembers that it did not matter, that she reached for him with everything she had, that she called him by his name, and that he raised his blade to kill her anyway. That is the grief that no amount of time ever healed, not that he died, that he lived as that, and that a piece of the boy she loved was awake inside the monster the entire time, and could not or would not be reached. And now the Force, whatever the Force is, whatever moved on Mustafar, has handed her the one thing that no meditation, no teacher, no passage of years could ever offer: a second chance to get to him first, to reach Anakin Skywalker before Palpatine's whispers do, to be there this time, to not leave, to be, for him, at the very beginning, the thing she was too late to be at the end. But Ahsoka Tano is not naive anymore, and that is the whole of the problem, because she did not just love Anakin, she lived through what his love did. She stood inside the wreckage of the galaxy that his devotion built. She watched, across the years, the way I have to save everyone became, I have to control everything, became a mountain of the dead so high, it blotted out the suns. She knows, not as theory, but as scar tissue, where the road paved with Anakin Skywalker's love actually leads. And a cold, clear, frightening question forms in the mind of the child on Shilly, and it will not leave her, no matter how she turns from it. She is going back, that much is decided. She will find a way off this world. She will reach the temple early. She will move heaven and earth to get to him. But is she going back to save Anakin Skywalker? Or is she going back to stop him? "You were my master," she says softly, to the empty sky over the tall grass. "You were my best friend, and I don't know yet. I honestly don't know whether I'm coming to help you or to end you before you can even start." There it is. The fracture at the heart of everything that is about to unfold. Two people, carrying the exact same memories, arriving at conclusions that cannot both be right and cannot both be acted upon without one of them destroying the other. Anakin looked at the tragedy and decided it happened because he was too weak, too slow, too constrained, because the council held him back and the rules bound his hands, and death took the people he loved while he stood by, forbidden to act. His answer is more power, more speed, more will. Get there first and act without hesitation. Ahsoka looked at the very same tragedy and decided the opposite. It happened because he acted, because of exactly that hunger to save everyone at any cost, exactly that certainty that he alone could hold back the dark, exactly that willingness to break every rule and cross every line and burn down every institution that ever told him no. She watched that love metastasize. She knows that the desperate all-or-nothing devotion already burning in the chest of the boy on Tatooine is not the cure for the tragedy. It is the tragedy. It is the seed of the whole thing. And here's the cruelty of it, the thing that makes this a tragedy poised to happen a second time, and not merely a puzzle to be solved. They are both right. He was too weak to save them, and his strength is what damned them. The council did fail him, and his answer to that failure did become genocide. Both readings are true, and two people who love each other, holding two true and opposite readings of the same catastrophe, are not allies waiting to be reunited. They are a duel waiting to happen. The day arrives on Tatooine exactly as Anakin knew it would. The sandstorm rolls in off the Dune Sea in the late afternoon, a wall of ochre and grit that swallows the suns and sends the market scrambling for shelter. And out of that howling murk, into the dim and the wind noise of Watto's junk shop, walk four figures that Anakin Skywalker has been waiting for, with a dread and a longing he can barely contain. A tall Jedi in travel-worn robes, calm at the center of the storm, his eyes already moving over the shop, with the particular attention of a man who misses nothing. Qui-Gon Jinn, a young woman in the plain garb of a handmaiden, her posture a fraction too straight, a fraction too poised, for a servant. Padme Amidala, the Queen of Naboo, hidden in plain sight, a gangly, anxious Gungan, and a squat blue and white astromech rolling and beeping at the threshold, and droid Anakin will one day trust more than most men. Anakin looks up from his work, and he looks into the face of the man who will name him the Chosen One, and, with that naming, doom him. And then he looks at her. Padme. He has to fight physically fight, jaw clenched, nails biting into his palms, to keep his composure, because the last time he saw this woman, she was lying broken on a medical table, a galaxy away, and a lifetime from now, her spirit crushed by the thing he had become, giving birth to the children he would not know, and then simply letting go, dying, the medics said, of a broken heart. He caused that, he put that grief into her, and now here she stands, young and whole and alive, glancing around a dusty shop with mild and kindly curiosity, looking at a strange slave boy with nothing in her eyes but a stranger's passing warmth. She does not know him. She cannot know him. To her, he is a child she will speak with for an afternoon and remember fondly, if at all, and he loves her so much, in this moment, so suddenly and so totally, that it is like a blade going in, all the love of a whole ruined lifetime, poured into the body of a boy with nowhere to go. He looks away before it shows on his face. He learned it the hardest way there is, how to keep a mask on when a mask is required. Across the shop, Qui-Gon Jinn feels something and frowns. The first time, standing in this exact spot, the Jedi sensed a boy of staggering raw potential, a vergence in the Force, a brightness so intense it seemed to promise the future of the whole order. He senses that again now, but he senses something else with it, something that troubles the still surface of his mind, and he cannot name it, a depth that has no business being there, a darkness at the far edges of the boy's presence, faint but real, like a shadow at the bottom of a clear pool, an age. That is the closest word Qui-Gon can find, though it makes no sense. The child radiates a weariness, a knowing, a weight of years that a 9-year-old could not possibly carry. Qui-Gon Jinn is one of the most perceptive Jedi of his generation, precisely because he listens to the living Force over the dogma of the Council, and the living Force is murmuring to him now that this boy is not what he appears. He does not know what to do with that, so he files it away and watches and says nothing. Anakin, meanwhile, plays his part with exquisite care. He knows he cannot reveal the truth. What would he even say? That he is the reincarnated memory of a Sith Lord who has not been born yet, sent back through time by a force that has no name, carrying the blueprint of a genocide he personally committed? They would think him mad, or worse, far worse. A Jedi like Qui-Gon might sense the truth of it, might feel the darkness in him resonate with the memory of the mask, and fear him. And Anakin knows exactly what the fear of Jedi did to him the first time. He will not invite it again. So he does what he did before. He offers the strangers shelter from the storm. He shows off, with a boy's pride, the pod racer he has been building in secret. He volunteers himself, against his mother's fear, for the Bunta Eve Classic, the one desperate gamble that can win the strangers the parts they need and win himself, though he does not say it aloud, his freedom. But this time, every word is a move. This time, he is not a boy being swept toward a destiny. This time, he is a strategist at a board he has seen the far end of, placing his pieces with the patience of a man who lost the game once and has been given, against all cosmic law, a second chance to play it. And this time, when he looks across the shop at Qui-Gon Jinn, kind, doomed, extraordinary Qui-Gon Jinn, Anakin makes a private vow that will bend the whole timeline out of true. This man is going to die on Naboo in a matter of weeks. A horned demon with a double blade is going to run him through in the belly of a reactor, and Obi Wan Kenobi is going to be trapped behind a wall of energy, screaming one heartbeat too late, and Qui-Gon is going to bleed out on cold metal and spend his last breath begging his own apprentice to train the slave boy from Tatooine. That is how it goes. That is how Anakin comes to be raised by a grief-stricken Obi-Wan instead of the one Jedi who might have understood him, the one who didn't fear the darkened people, the one who trusted the living Force over the Council's cold caution, the one who was gone before he could ever matter. Not this time. This time, Anakin Skywalker is going to save Qui-Gon Jinn. He does not yet know that 1,000 light years away, a Togruta child has just talked, bribed, and lied her way onto a freighter bound for the Outer Rim, that she is coming to this exact planet drawn by the same blazing knot in the Force that he represents, chasing the same future he is chasing, and carrying, folded up inside her small chest, the willingness to burn every one of his careful plans to ash, if that is what it takes to keep him from becoming what she watched him become. The Bunta Eve Classic dawns hot and loud, the great arena packed to its crumbling rim with every species in the Outer Rim come to scream at the pod racers and gamble their lives savings on the outcome. And down among the roaring engines and the flashing repulsors, strapped into a machine he built with his own hands, is a 9-year-old boy who has raced this exact course 1,000 times in the long memory of another life. Anakin does not need to prove himself. That is the strange, cold heart of it. He knows this track the way he knows his own name. Every turn, every straight, every place where Sebulba will cheat, and every place the canyon narrows to a killing width, he could win it in his sleep. The danger is not losing. The danger is winning wrong. Winning too easily, too perfectly, driving with a precision and a nerve that would tell every watching eye that there is something deeply impossibly wrong with this child. So he stages it, he performs, he lets Sebulba foul him at the start, lets the sabotage play out, lets the engine cut and cough at the moment it is supposed to cut and cough. He hangs back when the story needs him to hang back, and surges when the crowd needs him to surge. He plays the arena and the cameras and Qui-Gon's watching eyes like an instrument he has had a whole lifetime to master, because he has learned, in his long and terrible education, exactly how to give people the story they already want to believe. Give them the plucky slave boy, give them the underdog, give them the miracle they came to see, and no one looks too closely at the machinery underneath. And as he crosses the finish line, as the arena erupts, as his mother weeps with a joy that breaks his heart, as Qui-Gon Jinn smiles the small, satisfied smile of a man whose faith has been rewarded, Anakin Skywalker feels almost nothing at all. No triumph, no boyish elation, only the cold ticking calculation running behind his eyes. He has won his freedom. Step 1 is complete. He is now, as of this moment, a free child with a Jedi's full attention, and a queen's gratitude, and a foot in the door of the whole galaxy, and he intends to spend every scrap of that hard-won leverage, every bit of it, on the work of unmaking the future. But the Force is not finished complicating his life. It has, in fact, barely started, because somewhere in that screaming, heaving crowd, hood drawn up over her montrelles, having spent the last of her stolen credits, and exhausted the last of her lies, to reach this exact spot, on this exact day, stands a small Togruta girl. Ahsoka Tano has made it to Tatooine. Against every odd, half-starved, and utterly alone, she has crossed the galaxy and found the one arena on the one world where the boy would be. And now she stands in the crush of bodies and watches 9-year-old Anakin Skywalker raise his thin arms in victory over his head. And she feels him, in the Force, that signature, that unmistakable, blazing, once-in-a-generation flare that she would know anywhere, in any life, through any disguise, the presence that filled her whole youth with warmth and filled her nightmares, later, with dread, the same fire, exactly the same, whether it wore the face of her laughing master, or the black mask of the thing that hunted her through the stars. There he is, the boy who becomes the monster. He is right there. 30 meters away, arms raised, grinning for a crowd that has no idea what it is cheering. She could reach him in a minute. She could go to him, right now, take his hand, tell him she remembers too, that he is not alone, that this time they can face it together. She could warn him. She could join him. She could be, from this first moment, the ally and the anchor she was too late to be before. Or she could remember Order 66, the younglings in the temple, cut down where they hid, Rex weeping as he fought his own murdering hands, a galaxy of ash. She could remember all of it, and do the thing a wiser, colder galaxy would have done at the very start, and never once had the nerve. Two children who remember the future, stand in the same crowd, on the same desert world, breathing the same hot air, and neither of them knows the other is there. Yet, we're only just getting started, and the timeline is about to fracture in ways the original story never dreamed of. If you're enjoying this journey so far, drop a comment and tell me who you would want the Force to revive and send back to the beginning. I read every one of them, and the best ideas have a way of becoming the next video. Now, let's get off this rock. Anakin says goodbye to his mother, but this time, it is not goodbye. The moment comes the way he knew it would, and knowing does not make it easier to stand inside. Qui-Gon Jinn fills the doorway of the little hovel, the desert wind tugging at his robes, and he explains to Shmi Skywalker, as gently as such a thing can be explained, that the arrangement he struck only covers the boy, only Anakin. The winnings will not stretch to 2, and the Republic's credits will not be spent buying the freedom of a slave woman on a world the Republic pretends not to see. The Force wills that the boy come with them. It says nothing about his mother. In the life Anakin already lived, this was the moment he broke. He was 9 and powerless, and he believed the adults when they told him there was no other way, and he let himself be led out into the suns, while his mother stood in the doorway and told him to be brave and not look back. He did not look back, and he carried the not looking back like a stone in his chest for 10 years, until the stone became nightmares, and the nightmares became a vision of her suffering, and the vision sent him screaming across the dune sea to a Tusken camp and a bloody blade and the first true death of his soul. Not this time. No, Anakin says. It is quiet. It stops the room. Qui-Gon looks down at the boy, and there is something in the Jedi's face that suggests he has been half expecting this child to do something a child would not do. Anakin, Qui-Gon says, not unkindly, it is not so simple as wanting. I'm not leaving without her. The boy's voice cracks on the last word, betraying him, the high, thin voice of a 9-year-old, but the will underneath it does not crack at all. You felt it. Whatever it is you sense in me, whatever made you stop in this one shop out of the whole of Mos Espa, out of the whole of this planet, you know I matter. That's why you're here. So if I matter as much as your face says I do, then I matter enough to bring my mother. That's the price. That's the whole price. Qui-Gon studies him for a long moment. The Force does not bargain. No, Anakin agrees. But Watto does. And here, the old cunning of Darth Vader surfaces, terrible and out of place, in the body of a boy. Anakin turns to the Toydarian, hovering greedily at the back of the shop, and he does not plead the way a child pleads. He negotiates the way a man negotiates who has broken far harder creatures than a small-time junk dealer. He knows this Toydarian. He knows the exact shape of his greed and the exact location of his fear, knows what Watto loves and what Watto owes, and to whom. He offers him something. A cut of the winnings, a schematic worth more than a slave woman ever fetched at auction, a suggestion, wrapped in a smile, that certain Hutt creditors might be very interested to learn certain things, and he watches the calculation crawl across those small yellow eyes. Across the room, Qui-Gon Jinn watches too, and what he sees disturbs him more than any midi-chlorian count ever could. This is not a frightened boy begging for his mother. This is a strategist working a mark. This is a mind that knows precisely which levers to pull, and feels no hesitation about pulling them. This is someone, the Jedi thinks with a slow chill, who has done this before, many times, on harder targets than this. It costs them. That is the thing about pulling against the current. The current pulls back. The haggling drags on far past where it should have ended, and drawn-out haggling draws eyes, and on a world thick with Hutt informants and cartel spotters, drawn eyes are a danger all their own. Somewhere in the crowd, a message is composed and sent. A Jedi paid too much and lingered too long over a slave woman and her strange sharp-eyed son. The timeline notices when you pull against it, it always notices, and it begins, quietly, to send its own pieces into motion in response. But when the sand speeder finally pulls away from the slave quarters and out toward the waiting ship, Shmi Skywalker is aboard it, alive, free, her hand resting on her son's shoulder, marveling at a mercy she was never once shown the first time the galaxy told this story, a fortune she does not understand and did not ask for. Anakin does not look back at the hovel. He looks at his mother's hand on his shoulder, and he thinks, with a fierceness that frightens even him, one, that's one. I saved one. And he does not let himself think, not yet, not with her hand warm on his shoulder, about how many he failed to save the last time he started counting, or about how the counting itself was where it all began. Meanwhile, Ahsoka makes her move. She does not go to Anakin. That is the discipline that a lifetime of war and hiding burned into her. Do not act on the feeling, act on the plan. And her plan is not to reveal herself to the boy who might be her salvation or her doom. Her plan is to reveal herself to the one adult in the vicinity who can get her off this world and toward the temple, the Jedi. So Qui-Gon Jinn, already off balance, already carrying the unnamed unease of the slave boy who negotiates like a crime lord, is approached at the edge of the spaceport by a second child, a small Togruta, alone, filthy from travel, radiating the light side of the Force so cleanly and so strongly that it stops him in his tracks. She asks, carefully, in words she has clearly rehearsed, for passage to Coruscant, for a chance to be seen by the Jedi. She presents herself as exactly what she partly is, a Force-sensitive child, lost and far from anywhere, reaching toward the only home that might take her. And Qui-Gon Jinn, who came to this desert for parts, and is leaving it with 2 impossible children, and a queen in disguise, feels the living Force positively shouting at him now, 2 of them, both blazing, both wrong in their different ways. The boy heavy with shadow and strategy, the girl steady and bright, but carrying, underneath the brightness, the same impossible weight of years he cannot explain. The Force is telling him, in no uncertain terms, that both of these children matter enormously, that both are hinged to the fate of vast things, and that something about the very shape of the future has gone deeply and cosmically wrong. He does not understand it, but he has spent his life trusting the Force, even when he does not understand it, and so he does not turn her away. And the moment finally comes, the payoff the whole first act has been building toward. In the hangar, in the shadow of the ship, Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano come face to face. 2 children, the heat shimmering off the Dura steel, a queen's retinue moving around them, a Jedi watching from a distance, none of them understanding what is passing between these 2 small figures, because it hits them both at once. That recognition in the Force, not of faces, they have never worn these faces to each other, but of essence, that flair, that signature, that impossible burning weight of a whole other lifetime. Each of them feels it roll off the other like heat off the hull. You're like me, you're carrying it too, you remember. Neither says a single word, neither dares, not here, not with a Jedi in earshot and a queen's guards all around, but their eyes meet and lock, and in that locked and silent gaze passes everything. The war they fought together, the friendship they built, the betrayal that ended it, the grief that outlived it all. He sees, in this small stranger, his lost apprentice. She sees, in this small stranger, the boy who becomes the mask. And in that single silent instant, in the heat and the hangar noise, an alliance and a war are born in the very same breath. They will help each other, and they will watch each other, and neither of them knows yet which of those 2 things will win. The ship breaks atmosphere and climbs toward the stars, and somewhere in its curving corridors, at last, Anakin and Ahsoka get a moment alone. It is the scene the whole story has been aching toward since the light took Mustafar. 2 people who share the memory of an entire tragic future, finally able to speak the truth aloud to the only other soul in the galaxy who could possibly believe it. It should be a reunion. It should be relief and tears and the unspeakable comfort of not being alone with the unbearable. It is not. It goes wrong almost from the first word. Ahsoka wants his plan. She has spent the whole journey watching him, and what she has seen has not reassured her, and now she wants to know, plainly, what he intends to do with this second chance. And Anakin tells her. He has been waiting his whole reborn life to say it to someone who would understand. Save everyone. That is the plan, whole and entire. Save Shmi. Already done, already accomplished, the first proof that the future can be rewritten. Save Qui-Gon. Save Padme. Find Palpatine wherever the spider sits spinning in the Senate and put an end to him before he can whisper a single word of poison into a single ear. Prevent the Clone Wars. Prevent Order 66. Prevent the Empire. Prevent, at the root of all of it, himself. Cut off the entire monstrous future before it can draw its first breath. He says it with shining eyes. This boy who was a monster. This man in a child's body. He says it like a prayer. And Ahsoka, who loves him, who has grieved him for a lifetime, who came across a galaxy to reach him, has to tell him the one thing he cannot bear to hear. That's exactly what you said last time. He goes still. The saving, she says, and her small voice is steady, even as it breaks her heart to say it. The saving everyone. The certainty that you and only you can hold back death. The willingness to break every rule, cross every line, and burn down anything that stands in the way of the saving. Anakin. I watched that. I watched that love turn into the thing that killed the galaxy. Not hate, not at first, love. This exact love. This exact plan. This exact, I have to save them all, no matter what. It's the beginning of the whole thing. It always was. I'm not him, Anakin says, and the wound is already opening in his voice. You think I'm still him? You look at me, and you see the mask. I look at you, she says gently, and it is the gentleness that devastates. and I see the boy I loved more than anyone in the galaxy, and I see the monster he turned into, and I sat down across from you on this ship, hoping with everything I have that the Force sent back the boy, but I can't tell yet, that's the truth. I can't tell which one of you it sent back, and giving that certainty, that exact save everyone's certainty, a running start, and a memory of every mistake. Anakin, I'm not sure that's a mercy. I'm not sure it isn't the most dangerous thing the Force has ever done. They part that conversation as uneasy allies and secret adversaries, which is to say, as exactly what they became the first time, only sooner and with their eyes open. They will work together, for now, because they both want the same near things. Palpatine dead, the Jedi warned. The trap sprung early, but each of them is watching the other now, truly watching. Anakin is afraid Ahsoka will try to stop him, control him, cage him the way the Council caged him, hold him back from the saving until death does its work again. Ahsoka is afraid Anakin will do precisely what he did before, only faster now, and armed with the full and perfect knowledge of exactly how. I'm not going to fall, Anakin says at the very end, quietly. It is almost a plea. Can't know that, Ahsoka answers, just as quietly. Last time, neither could you. And the ship flies on toward Naboo and the war and everything that is coming, carrying two children who remember the end of the story and cannot agree on how to keep it from happening again. Qui-Gon Jinn is not a fool, and this is the thing that makes him more dangerous to Anakin's secret than the entire Jedi Council combined. He is by most reckonings the most perceptive Jedi of his generation, and for a specific reason, he listens to the living Force over the dead weight of dogma. Where other Jedi hear the rules, Qui-Gon hears the current beneath the rules, and the living Force has been murmuring in his ear since the sandstorm, growing steadily louder, and what it is telling him now, aboard the ship, with two impossible children in his care, is impossible to ignore. These two are anomalies, wounds in the smooth fabric of time, souls that do not fit the shape of the ages they wear. So he does what Qui-Gon Jinn does. He watches, he meditates on it, and he begins to gather evidence the way a man gathers water on a desert world. Patiently, drop by drop, he notices the way the boy flinches at the name Palpatine, flinches before anyone in the boy's presence has any reason to know that name, before it means anything at all to a slave child from the Outer Rim. He notices the way the Togruta girl watches the boy, not with a child's curiosity, but with the fixed, unblinking vigilance of a sentinel watching a fuse burn down towards something buried. He notices once, when they think themselves unobserved in the ship's hold, the two of them moving through what is unmistakably a combat drill, and moving through it not like children at play, but like veterans, with the economy and the wordless coordination of soldiers who have fought side by side through 100 engagements. The boy corrects the girl's guard without speaking. The girl adjusts without being told. It is the choreography of two people who have trusted each other with their lives, and it is being performed by a 9-year-old and a child barely older. And then Qui-Gon Jinn does the thing that no other Jedi in the entire timeline would have done. He does not report them to the Council. He does not recoil from the strangeness, or fear the shadow he senses in the boy, or file a warning to be acted on by frightened masters far away. He asks. He finds Anakin alone in the quiet of the ship's night cycle, and he sits down across from the boy with the unhurried calm of a man who has all the time in the galaxy, and he says simply, "You are more than you appear to be. I have known it since the shop. I do not know what you are, or how, or why, but I know that you are carrying something no child should have to carry alone." And then, the words that could change everything. Tell me the truth, whatever it is, and I give you my word. As a Jedi and as a man, I will believe you. It lands on Anakin Skywalker like a physical blow, because this is the thing. This is the exact thing he was starved for his entire first life, and never once received. Trust offered before it was earned. Belief extended without suspicion. A Jedi, a real Jedi, the way he imagined Jedi were supposed to be before the Council taught him otherwise. Looking at the darkness in him not with fear, but with open hands, and saying, "Tell me, I will believe you." If Anakin had been given this, once, at the start, by the man now sitting across from him, perhaps none of it would have happened. Perhaps the whole terrible future would have unspooled differently. He knows this. He feels the truth of it in his chest like a hook, and so he is tempted, desperately, achingly tempted, to tell Qui-Gon Jinn everything. The mask, the fall, Mustafar, the Force that has no name, all of it poured out at last to the one man in the galaxy who said he would believe. Does he? That is the question we leave hanging in the quiet of the ship, whether Anakin Skywalker offered offered, for the first and perhaps only time, the trust that might have saved him, can bring himself to take it, or whether a whole lifetime of betrayal, of being feared and used and lied to and finally destroyed by the people who claim to guide him, has taught him a lesson too deep to unlearn, that trust is a blade you hand to someone else, and that the moment you offer it, you have already lost. Whether the boy trusts the one man who ever deserved it, or whether Vader, still coiled somewhere inside him, will not let him. Whatever he decides in that room, it does not change where the ship is going. It arrives eventually at the crux of everything. Not Naboo, not yet. The idea of Naboo, the idea of what waits beyond it, because both of these children know that the true enemy is not the Trade Federation, and not the droid armies, and not even the horned demon waiting in the reactor. The true enemy sits, right now, in a comfortable office on Coruscant, wearing the mild and pleasant face of a senator, Palpatine. He is not the Emperor yet. That is the thing Anakin keeps turning over in his mind, the thing that makes his pulse quicken. Right now, in this moment in the timeline, Sheev Palpatine is merely Senator Palpatine of Naboo, smiling, patient, beloved. Decades away from the throne he will build out of the corpse of the Republic. He has not declared himself. He has not seized his powers. The web is spun, but the spider has not yet struck. He is, in this precise window of time, more vulnerable than he will ever be again, and Anakin wants him dead. Simply, cleanly, immediately. He knows what Palpatine is. He knows every crime the man will commit, every life he will end, every world he will burn. And more than that, buried in Anakin, under the boy's soft face, is the accumulated combat instinct and dark side knowledge of Darth Vader himself. He knows how Sidious fights. He knows the tricks and the tells. If anyone in the galaxy could walk into that senator's office and end the future with a single stroke, it is the child who was once the Emperor's own apprentice. Ahsoka is horrified, and she makes this brutally clear, because she wants Palpatine to draw one more breath than he has to. She would see him gone as gladly as anyone alive. She is horrified because she has learned, in the hardest possible school, exactly where the road of I'll just kill the ones who need killing actually leads. She has watched Anakin walk that road. She has watched him decide, over and over, that his judgment was sound enough, and his cause was pure enough to justify the blade. She knows in her scars, that the very first time you decide you are wise enough to murder someone for the greater good, you have already taken the opening step down the exact path that ends in a temple full of dead children, because the younglings were a threat too, in the story Palpatine told. Everyone is a cancer in someone's story. Their argument over how to handle Palpatine is the philosophical heart of the whole video, and it is worth sitting inside, because there is no easy answer in it. He's a cancer, Anakin says. You don't debate a cancer, you cut it out before it spreads. I know exactly what he becomes, Ahsoka. I've seen the whole thing. Every death that man causes, I can see it. And you're telling me to just, what? Let him live? Let it all happen again so my conscience stays clean? I'm telling you, she says, that the last time you decided you got to choose who lives and who dies for the good of the galaxy ended. And who decides what's a cancer, Anakin? You? The same way you decided last time? Because from where I was standing, the Jedi you cut down in that temple were cancers too. Palpatine told you they were a threat, a plot, a poison, and you believed him, and you drew your blade, and you told yourself it was for the greater good the whole way down. That's not a warning about him, that's a warning about you. That's certainty. That's the thing I'm afraid of. Not that you're wrong about Palpatine, that you're right about Palpatine, and it teaches you that you're allowed to be the one who decides. And here is the terrible complication that neither of them can plan their way around. Palpatine can sense them. Not clearly, not yet, and not in any way he can name. But two ripples in the force of this magnitude, two presences carrying the impossible weight of a rewritten future, blazing far too bright for what they appear to be, do not go entirely unnoticed by a Sith Lord of Darth Sidious's power. Across the light years, in the quiet of his Coruscant office, he feels something, a disturbance, a wrongness at the edge of his perception. 2 points of light that seem, when he turns his attention toward them, to somehow turn back and look at him, and to know him. It is faint, It is deniable. A lesser being would dismiss it, but Sidious has not survived 1,000 years of Sith scheming, has not clawed his way to the very threshold of galactic domination. By dismissing the things he does not understand, he has survived by treating every single anomaly as a threat to be studied and then turned, and then, if it cannot be turned, destroyed. The hunters have found their prey, and the prey has felt the hunters coming. And the most dangerous thing about Sheev Palpatine, the thing that makes him more terrible than any droid army or any horned assassin, is this. He is very, very good at making the people who come to kill him believe, right up until the very end, that he is their dearest friend. We're at the turning point now, and I want to hear from you, because this is the exact thing that splits every room. If you think Anakin should just take the shot, walk into that office, and end Palpatine before he can spin a single thread more, drop a comment and make the case. And if you think that's precisely the mistake that damns him all over again, that the certainty is the poison, make that case too. The way this question divides people is the whole beating heart of the story. Now, let's go to Naboo. Naboo, the invasion. The set piece the original story built toward across its whole running length, and the moment Anakin Skywalker has been dreading and planning for since the sandstorm first rolled over Mos Espa, the Duel of the Fates. He knows every beat of it. The horned demon with the double-bladed saber, the great reactor with its bottomless shafts and its walls of pulsing energy, the narrow catwalks, and the moment, the specific, terrible moment, when Darth Maul drives his blade through Qui-Gon Jinn's body, while Obi Wan Kenobi hammers uselessly at a wall of light that will not let him pass. That is the fixed point. That is the hinge on which the whole tragic future swings. Qui-Gon dies here, and in dying, he hands Anakin to a grief-stricken apprentice instead of raising the boy himself, and the entire ruined future spools out from that single loss. Anakin and Ahsoka both know it is coming, and for the first time since the ship, since the argument, since they fractured into wary allies, for the first time, they act as one. Because whatever their vast disagreement about Palpatine and the future and the nature of Anakin's own soul, on this one thing, they are in perfect wordless accord. Neither of them will stand in that reactor and watch Qui-Gon Jinn be run through a second time, not while they can move, not while they draw breath. What follows is unlike anything the reactor of Theed has ever seen. Maul comes as he always comes, a red storm of hatred and discipline, and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan meet him as they always meet him. But this time, there are two more figures in the fight, two children who have no business surviving a single exchange with a Sith assassin, throwing themselves into the storm anyway. Anakin fights like something out of a nightmare. His body is 9 years old, and his body betrays him at every turn. Too short, too slow, the reach not there, the muscle not there, the boy's frame simply unable to execute what the mind inside it knows how to do. But the mind is the mind of the greatest duelist the Jedi Order ever produced, the mind that mastered every form, and then went beyond them into the forbidden arts of the Sith. He moves with a foreknowledge that borders on the prophetic, because he half remembers this fight, because he has studied Maul across a lifetime, because he knows where the demon's blade is going before the demon does. He cannot win, his body cannot cash the checks his mind is writing, but he can disrupt. He can be, in the flow of the duel, an impossible variable that should not exist. And Ahsoka. Ahsoka is a marvel of a different kind. Her body is small and untrained in this life. The Montral's barely grown, the reflexes those of a child, but every technique she ever learned across 2 brutal wars is still there in her, and she has always been the more adaptable of the two, the one who improvises, the one who does the thing the enemy has not prepared for. She fights unpredictably, wildly, wrongly by every doctrine. And it is exactly that wrongness that Maul cannot account for. He has trained his whole life to counter Jedi. He has never in his existence had to counter this. Maul is thrown, genuinely, dangerously thrown. Nothing about this fight matches the shape the dark side whispered to him. There were meant to be 2 Jedi, a master and an apprentice, and instead there are 2 Jedi and 2 impossible children who fight like ghosts. And the choreography of the duel he was promised has dissolved into chaos. And in that chaos, in the precise moment when Qui-Gon Jinn is meant to fall, when the blade is meant to find him, something changes. Perhaps Anakin, small and desperate and faster in mind than in body, flings himself into the path of the killing stroke and takes the wound meant for the Master, a wound that would have killed a grown man and that his small frame barely survives. Perhaps Ahsoka's wild improvisation breaks Maul's timing at the critical instant, turns the killing thrust a hand's breadth wide. Perhaps Qui-Gon himself, warned by the strange behavior of these children, wary in a way he was not the first time, simply does not fall for the feint that killed him before. Perhaps it is all three at once. The blade misses, Qui-Gon Jinn lives, Maul is driven back and then down, and the demon who murdered the Master in the first telling of this story falls instead. And Qui-Gon Jinn, bleeding, exhausted, alive, drags himself up off the reactor floor with his own blade still in his hand. It is Anakin's first true victory over the timeline, not the small mercy of saving his mother quietly in a shop. This is a fixed point cracked open. This is the demon defeated and the Master spared, and the future visibly, unmistakably bent out of its ordained shape. The river can be diverted. He has proven it now, in the one place the story swore could not be changed. And it is also, though he does not fully grasp it yet, the moment everything begins to spin genuinely out of anyone's control, because a living Qui-Gon Jinn changes everything downstream in ways that ripple far beyond anything Anakin planned. It changes who trains Anakin. It changes the shape of Obi Wan's life. It changes the Council's calculations, and the next decade's alliances, and 1,000 small things that were load-bearing in ways no one could have predicted. Anakin thought he was removing one tragedy. He has, in fact, kicked out a pillar, and the whole structure of the future is now settling into a new and unknown shape. And victories, as Anakin knows better than any living soul, have costs. This one reveals the children for what they are. You cannot fight a Sith Lord to a standstill at 9 years old, in a Queen's reactor, in front of 2 Jedi, and have those Jedi fail to notice. The secret that Anakin guarded so carefully in Watto's shop is out now. Blown wide by necessity, Qui-Gon knows. He watched a slave boy move like a master. Obi-Wan suspects, and Obi-Wan is not a man who lets a suspicion go, and whatever faint, deniable wrongness Palpatine sensed across the light years has just flared into something a great deal harder to ignore. 2 ripples in the Force just fought a Sith to death on Naboo. The Spider felt that, and the Spider began, in the quiet of his office, to pay very close attention indeed. They bring the children to the Jedi Council, Coruscant, the Great Tower, the high circular chamber with its ring of seats and its window onto the endless city where the 12 most powerful Jedi alive sit in judgment over the fate of the Order, and often over the fate of individual small lives brought trembling before them. Into that chamber come Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano, 2 impossible children, radiating power and shadow in equal measure, having just done the undoable on Naboo. Among the seated masters is a younger, harder Mace Windu, his gaze sharp and unforgiving, already wary, and among them is Yoda, ancient Yoda, who has sat in this chamber for the better part of 9 centuries. And Yoda feels, looking at these 2 children, something he has not felt in all his long life, something the teachings do not name. He does not know what it is, but it makes the small hairs stand up along his spine, and it makes him, for once, uncertain. What follows is a chapter of dread, and it is dread of a very particular kind, because we in the audience know exactly how this goes wrong. The Council does what the Council always does. It fears what it does not understand. 2 children radiating this much raw power, carrying this much darkness at the edges, fighting like war-hardened knights out of some future the Force will not explain. The Council's every instinct is caution and containment and control. Watch them, restrain them. Do not let such power run loose, unschooled and unwatched. It is the same instinct, precisely the same, that in the first telling of this story took a bright and loving and desperate boy and made him feel every single day like a bomb the Order was afraid might go off, until, in the end, he did, and Anakin sits before them and watches it happen again. He watches the Masters deliberate over his fate exactly as they did before. He watches the wary glances, the careful words, the fear dressed up as prudence, and he feels the old rage rising in him, the old wound reopening, the oldest and most dangerous thought he owns uncoiling in his chest. Nothing has changed. Nothing. They still fear me. They still look at me and see a threat instead of a child, a danger instead of a person. They will do it all again. They will push me toward the dark by trying so hard to keep me from it. They will make me into the thing they're afraid of by treating me like the thing they're afraid of, and they will never, ever, once, simply trust me. This is Anakin Skywalker's deepest nightmare made flesh, playing out in real time, that no matter what he does, no matter how he tries to steer, the galaxy will insist on treating him as a weapon, and will keep treating him that way until, inevitably, he becomes one. And Ahsoka, seated beside him, watches Anakin watch the council, and she sees it. She sees the exact moment the resentment catches and kindles behind his eyes, the small hot spark of it, and her blood runs cold, because she has stood at the far end of this. She has seen where that spark goes when it is fed. She knows this fire. And then Yoda speaks. The ancient master, who has felt something nameless since the children entered the chamber, gives it words at last. And his words fall into the silence like stones into a still pool, and they change the whole shape of the room. He says that he senses in these two children not a beginning, but an ending, that they carry the smell of grief and fire, and of things that have not happened yet, that will not happen for years, and yet cling to them like smoke, that the Force did not make them. Not in the ordinary way, not the way it makes all children, that something sent them. The chamber goes utterly silent, because for the first time, a Jedi has spoken aloud the truth of what they are. Not the whole truth. Yoda does not know about the mask, or Mustafar, or the specific ruined future, but the shape of it, that these are not children, that these are messengers, or weapons, or warnings, hurled backward through time by a force with a purpose no one in that chamber can read. And the question that hangs in the air over the Jedi Council, unanswered, is the same question that hangs over the entire story. If the Force sent these two souls back through time, then what is it that the Force is so desperate to prevent? And more frightening still, are Anakin and Ahsoka the cure that the Force has sent to stop it? Or are they themselves the disease? This is the break. The moment the fragile, wary alliance between Anakin and Ahsoka finally shatters for good. And it shatters, as it was always going to shatter, over the one question they could never answer together. Palpatine, and how far a soul is willing to go. Anakin makes his move. He does not tell her first. That is part of what breaks it, that when the moment comes, he does not consult her, does not warn her, does not give her the chance to talk him down, because some part of him already knows she would try, and some part of him has already decided not to let her. He acts, decisively, alone, the way he has always acted, driven by the bone-deep conviction that his knowledge of the future gives him not just the ability, but the right. He moves against Palpatine, a confrontation, an exposure, a strike, the specific shape of it built from everything Vader knew about the man who made him, and it goes wrong. Of course it goes wrong, because Palpatine is Palpatine. Because a Sith Lord who has been sensing these two coming for weeks, who has felt the wrongness of them, who has been turning his patient attention toward the anomaly since Naboo, that man is not a mark to be caught by a frontal assault, even a frontal assault armed with foreknowledge. Sidious has been waiting, and when Anakin's blow finally falls, the spider is not where the blow lands. Palpatine turns it. Naturally he turns it. He is the single greatest manipulator in the history of the galaxy, and the attempt on him does not frighten him. It delights him, in the cold way that such things delight him, because it confirms everything he suspected and more. These are not children. He knows that for certain now. These are something extraordinary, something that knows things, knows him, knows his plans, knows the future he has not yet built. And to a mind like Sidious's, that knowledge is not a threat to be feared, it is a prize to be claimed. Two beings who can see the shape of what is coming would make the most powerful apprentices the Sith have ever taken, or if they cannot be turned, the most dangerous enemies the Sith have ever faced. And Darth Sidious has never in his long life met a threat he did not first attempt to seduce, and only then attempt to destroy. In the aftermath, the attempt failed, the enemy alerted, the situation worse than before he moved. Anakin and Ahsoka finally have it out. The real fight, not lightsabers, words. All the words they have been swallowing since the ship, since the argument in the corridor, since the council chamber. Everything comes up now. Everything. 2 lifetimes of it, spilling out in the space of a single terrible conversation. You did it again, Ahsoka says, and there is no gentleness left in her now, only grief turned hard. You saw a problem, and you decided, alone, without a word to me, that you were allowed to kill your way through it. And it didn't just fail, Anakin. You showed him what we are. You handed him the one thing he didn't have, which was certainty, and you nearly handed him everything else besides. And you, Anakin says, and his voice is shaking with a fury that has been building for a lifetime, would have done nothing. Again, you'd have watched and waited and counseled patience and let it all happen exactly the way it happened before. Because that's what they taught you, isn't it? That's the great Jedi wisdom. Stand back, don't act, watch the galaxy burn, and call your paralysis peace. And then it goes deeper, past the argument and into the wound underneath, because it was always going to. Every hurt between them, across both their lifetimes, comes out. He throws her leaving in her face, the day she walked away from the Order, from him, when he needed her, the abandonment that he never fully forgave, and that fed, in its quiet way, the darkness that took him. She throws back the thing that leaving was a response to, that she left because she saw what he was becoming, that walking away was the only sane thing left to do when the person you love is turning into something monstrous in front of you. He accuses her of betraying him. She accuses him of becoming a thing that made betrayal the only mercy. The war. Order 66. The mask on the Star Destroyer, and the moment she reached for him and he tried to kill her anyway. It all comes out, jagged and unhealed, two children in small bodies flinging the wreckage of two adult lifetimes at each other, and underneath all of it, this is the thing, this is the tragedy of it, underneath every cruel and true word is the love. Because they are family, across all of time, across death itself, they are the closest thing to family that either of them has ever had or ever will. Master and Padawan. The bond that was, in the first telling, the very last thread of light in Anakin Skywalker. The one Ahsoka pulled on at the end, when she stood before the mask and said, "I won't leave you, not this time." That bond is real. It is the realest thing either of them has. And it is precisely because it is that real, that deep, that irreplaceable, that they are able to wound each other this catastrophically. You cannot cut a stranger this way. Only family can bleed you like this. They part, truly, this time, not wary allies, not master and apprentice, something worse than enemies. Two people who love each other and have concluded, each of them, that the other is about to doom the galaxy. Anakin will save it his way, through strength, through action, through the unhesitating will to do what must be done. He is done being held back, done being feared into paralysis, done listening to counsels of patience while death does its work. Ahsoka will save it hers, which means now that she will save it from him. She will make certain that Anakin Skywalker never again gets the chance to save the galaxy the way he saved it last time, with a blade and a certainty and a mountain of the dead. Two people wearing the same face of grief, walking away from each other in opposite directions, each of them absolutely certain that the other has become the danger. "If you get in my way," Anakin says, very quietly, at the very end, "I will go through you." "I know," Ahsoka answers. "You did before. Now let us leave the children for a while, and go to the spider, because the most chilling thing in this entire story is not the duel that is coming between Anakin and Ahsoka. It is what a Sith Lord does with the knowledge that two beings from the future have come to unmake him. Palpatine does not panic. Understand that about him. Panic is for lesser creatures. Palpatine adapts. He has spent his entire life turning threats into instruments, turning the weapons aimed at him into weapons in his own hand, and now the Force has set before him the most fascinating puzzle of his long career. Two Force users who know his moves before he makes them, who have read, in some sense, the ending of the book he is still writing, so he changes the book. He begins, quietly and deliberately, to alter his own grand design, not from fear, from strategy. His enemies have memorized a script, so he will improvise a new one. Every plan they might know, he adjusts. Every move they might anticipate, he replaces. The great advantage of foreknowledge is that it depends utterly on the future unfolding the way it did before. And Sidious, alone among the players, has grasped that he can simply refuse to let it, and then he turns his attention to the fracture, because a manipulator of his caliber understands something the children, in their grief and their fury, have lost sight of. He does not need to defeat these two enemies himself, not if he can get them to defeat each other, and oh, he can see the crack between them so clearly, so beautifully. The boy who wants to save everyone through power, the woman who is terrified of exactly that. He sees that Anakin already half believes the Jedi will never trust him, because they never have in either life, and Sidious knows precisely how to feed that particular starving thing. And he sees, with the special delight of a master craftsman recognizing his materials, that Ahsoka's fear of Anakin's fall could, with the right pressure applied in the right place, become the very thing that causes it, that her watching, her guarding, her certainty that he will fall could push him toward the falling, exactly the way the Council's fear pushed him the first time. It is almost too perfect. The one who came back to prevent the tragedy might become its author, the cure might be the disease, and all Sidious has to do is apply pressure and wait wait, so he whispers. Not to Anakin directly, that would be too obvious, too soon, and these are not ordinary marks. He whispers to the galaxy around them. He plants seeds in the Senate, in the Council, in the press of galactic events. He arranges for the Jedi to be a little more afraid, the political situation a little more dire, Anakin's isolation a little more complete. He plays the fears of the Order against the rage of the boy, exactly as he did the first time, but now, with the added delicious challenge of an opponent who knows his playbook, which only makes the game more worth playing. This is Sidious at his most terrifying, not the cackling Emperor of the throne room, hurling lightning, the patient spider, sitting in the dark at the center of his web, calmly rebuilding every strand in real time to catch two flies who flew back through time specifically to burn it down. And the chapter closes on the most chilling thought of all, Sidious's own private realization, spoken softly to an empty room, to us, to the dark. The Force, he muses, gave his enemies knowledge of the future, a great gift, a terrible weapon, except that the future they remember no longer exists. They have already changed it. The mother saved, the master spared, the demon fallen on Naboo, the assault on him that never happened before. Every change they make, every stone they divert, unmakes a little more of the country their memories map. Their perfect knowledge is a map to a place that is being demolished around them, brick by brick, by their own hands, and a map to a place that no longer exists, Sidious understands, is not a weapon at all. It is a blindfold. They think they know what is coming. He smiles, alone in the dark. They have no idea, not anymore. Let us pull back now, away from the two children and the spider, and look at what their war is doing to the galaxy around them, because the changes they have made do not stay contained to their private struggle. They spread, they touch worlds and lives that neither Anakin nor Ahsoka will ever see, and understanding those ripples is how we understand the true scale of what has been set loose. Consider Obi Wan Kenobi. In the life that was unmade, Obi Wan became the Master. He raised Anakin, loved him, failed him, and finally faced him on the fire shores of Mustafar. His whole existence was shaped around the boy from Tatooine, but in this new timeline, Qui-Gon Jinn lives, and so Obi-Wan is never handed that burden and that gift. He remains a knight in his master's shadow, a fine Jedi with a quieter destiny, watching from the edges as two strange children move through the Order like comets. And there is a loneliness in that we should not overlook. Obi-Wan can feel, dimly, that something enormous is happening around him and passing him by, that a story that should have been his has been given to others. He does not resent it. He is too good a man for that, but he watches Anakin Skywalker with a peculiar ache, as though recognizing, without ever being able to name, a brother he was meant to have and never will. Consider Padme Amidala. She is a young queen still, and then a young senator, moving through the great halls of Coruscant with her idealism intact and her heart unbroken. She does not know the slave boy from the shop grew up to love her, marry her in secret, and finally break her. In this life, that never happened, and so she remains whole in a way the first Padme never got to be. And yet the Force has its own strange gravity. She finds herself, now and again, in the orbit of the intense young man Anakin is becoming, and she cannot understand why he looks at her the way he does, with a grief and a longing that seem to belong to some history the two of them never shared. It unsettles her. It draws her. She is being loved by the memory of a marriage she never entered, and she can feel the pull of it without ever understanding its source. And consider the wider galaxy, which does not know any of this is happening at all. The Trade Federation's defeat at Naboo went differently, because the reactor duel went differently, because Maul fell instead of Qui-Gon. Small change, vast consequence. The politics that flowed from that first crisis flow differently now. The Senate that Palpatine was so carefully steering toward its own destruction is a little harder to steer, because too many small things have moved out of their appointed places. The clone army that was being grown in secret on distant Camino, that great hidden engine of the coming war, sits now at the center of a mystery that events have begun to expose too early. In the first timeline, the clones were discovered at precisely the moment Palpatine wished them discovered. In this one, the timing has slipped, and a slipped timing is a thread that a curious Jedi might pull. This is the paradox at the heart of everything Anakin and Ahsoka are doing. Every good change they make loosens the grand design, and a loosened design is not necessarily a safer one. Palpatine built his web to be pulled tight in a specific order, each strand triggering the next. Yank the strands out of sequence, and you do not simply unmake the web. You make something new, something no one designed, something whose shape not even the spider can fully predict. The devil the galaxy knew is being replaced, thread by thread, with a devil no one has ever seen. And in the quiet places of the Order, the older Jedi begin to feel it, Yoda most of all. He sits in meditation and reaches out into the Force, and where once he felt the slow, sick certainty of a darkness gathering along known lines, now he feels only turbulence. Chaos, a future that will not resolve into any clear shape because too many hands are stirring it at once. He does not find this comforting. A known darkness can be prepared for. A darkness of unknown shape, arriving by an unknown road, is worse in every way that matters. And Yoda, ancient and wise and tired, begins to suspect the most frightening thing of all, that the two children the Force sent back may not be the galaxy's salvation, that they may be a second catastrophe running alongside the first, and that the collision of the two is what the Force has been trying all along to warn him about. He keeps these fears to himself. Who would he tell? The Council fears the children already. To share his suspicion would be to light a fire he could not control. So the old master carries it alone, out at the edge of things, watching two comets streak across a sky that is no longer the sky he knew, and hoping, with a hope he cannot quite believe in, that when they finally meet, they will not burn the whole heavens down between them. Now we pay the piper. Every change that Anakin and Ahsoka have made ripples outward across the galaxy, and not all of the ripples are kind. This is where the story earns its weight, not in the victories, but in the slow, dawning understanding that saving people is never free, that a river diverted from one valley only floods another, that you cannot reach into the machinery of fate and pull out the parts you dislike without the whole thing lurching into a new and unpredictable motion. Consider the victories, and what they cost. Qui-Gon Jinn lives. A mercy, a triumph, the proof that the future could be bent. But a living Qui-Gon means an Obi Wan Kenobi who never becomes Anakin's master, never takes the grieving vow over a dying man's body, never raises the boy as a brother, never builds with him the flawed and genuine love that was, for all its failures, one of the deepest bonds in Anakin's first life. In saving Qui-Gon, Anakin has quietly erased the relationship that, at the very end, was one of the last human things left in him. He does not yet feel the absence, but it is there, a hollow where a brother should have been. Shmi Skywalker lives, the wound at the root of everything, healed before it could fester. But Shmi off Tatooine, Shmi drawn into the orbit of the Jedi and the Republic and the war, is no longer a slave woman safely beneath the notice of galactic powers. She is something new now. She is a leaver. She is a person Anakin loves, placed within reach of an enemy who makes his entire living out of finding the people his targets love and turning them into wounds. The mother he saved has become the hostage he did not mean to create, and Palpatine survives Anakin's strike. Worse than survives, is awakened by it. The patient, deniable senator, who might have been undone by a truly unexpected blow, is now alert, adapting, watching, rebuilding his plans around enemies whose one advantage he has already begun to strip away. In reaching for the spider and missing, Anakin has done the one thing more dangerous than leaving the spider alone. He has told the spider it is being hunted, but the deepest cost of all, the one the whole story has been quietly building toward, is the simplest to name and the hardest to bear. Anakin and Ahsoka, the two people who might have saved each other, are now enemies. Think about what the Force did when it chose these two. Of all the souls it could have sent back, it sent back the Master and the Apprentice. It sent back the single most important relationship in Anakin Skywalker's life. The bond that, in the first telling, was the last thread of light in him. The thread Ahsoka herself pulled on when she stood before the mask on that ruined Star Destroyer and refused to leave. If the Force had a plan, surely that was the plan. That these two, together, might succeed where either alone would fail. That the love between them might be the thing that held Anakin to the light this time. And instead, the story has spent its whole length pulling that thread apart. The very memories that were meant to arm them have set them against each other. The very knowledge that was meant to save the galaxy has convinced each of them that the other is about to destroy it. The Force's greatest gift has become its own undoing. We sit in that tragedy for a while, because it deserves the time. Anakin, alone now, more powerful than he has ever been, more certain than he has ever been, walking the exact psychological road that led him to the mask the first time. telling himself at every step that it is different this time, that he is in control, that he has learned, that he is wiser, that he will save them all and stay himself while he does it. The same lies, almost word for word, that he told himself on the way down before, and no one beside him now to say otherwise. No Obi Wan, no Ahsoka, no one who loves him and is willing to tell him the truth. And Ahsoka, alone too, watching him from a distance, tracking his movements, guarding against his choices, and slowly, horribly, coming to understand what she has become. That her fear of his fall, her surveillance, her hard certainty that he will turn, might be the very pressure that turns him. That in trying with everything she has to prevent Anakin Skywalker from becoming Darth Vader, she may be reprising, note for note, the role the Council played the first time, the role that helped make the monster. She came back to catch him, and she is beginning to suspect that the catching is a kind of pushing. This is the true tragedy of this timeline, and it is worth stating plainly, because it is the whole thesis of the story. The tragedy is not that Anakin and Ahsoka forgot the future, it is that they remembered it too well. They remembered it so completely, they were so shaped and scarred and driven by it, that between them they reached back into the past and built it all over again. A little differently, a little sooner, but the same terrible shape. The knowledge that was supposed to free them became the thing that condemned them to repeat it, and so we come to the climax where everything converges. Anakin's plan, Ahsoka's counter-plan, and Palpatine's patient web drawn tight around them both, they come together in a final confrontation that mirrors and inverts the very cold open of this story. We began with Darth Vader standing victorious over a broken Obi Wan on the black shores of Mustafar. We end, where? With whom standing, over whom? That is the question the whole story has been holding in reserve, and now, at last, it must be answered, because all the pieces are on the board now, in new and terrible positions. Anakin has power and knowledge, and a rage that has been building since the council chamber. Ahsoka has love and fear, and the awful certainty that she is the only one left who can stop him. Palpatine has a trap built with exquisite care, a trap designed so that no matter which of the two prevails, the spider wins. And the Jedi Council, fearful and blind as it has been from the first, is poised to make exactly the wrong move at exactly the wrong moment, the way it always does, the way it cannot seem to help. The confrontation, when it comes, is both a battle of blades and a battle of hearts, and the two cannot be separated, because when Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano finally cross lightsabers, not in a training ring, not as master and student, but as two people each convinced that the fate of the galaxy depends on stopping the other, every single strike carries the weight of 2 entire lifetimes, the war they fought side by side, the trust they built in 1,000 battles, the betrayals on both sides, real and imagined, the love that never died, and never once managed to save either of them. It is all there, in every parry, in every advance, in every moment where one of them could land a killing blow and hesitates, just slightly, because they are trying to kill the person they love most in all the galaxy, and in the middle of that duel, at the moment of maximum grief and maximum vulnerability, Palpatine springs his trap. It is designed with the spider's patience. It does not matter who wins. Whoever walks away from that duel, whoever stands over the fallen body of the one person who shared their entire history, whoever has just been forced to strike down their own family to save a galaxy, that survivor will be broken open in exactly the way a Sith Lord knows how to fill. Raw, grieving, isolated, certain they had no choice. It is the perfect soil for the dark, and Sidious tilled it himself, using their own love as the plow. Let us not rush the confrontation, because everything in this story has been leading to it, and it deserves to be lived through beat by beat. They meet in a place thick with the past, perhaps Mustafar itself, that black and burning wound where the first story ended, chosen by Palpatine's design, or by the Force's cruel sense of symmetry. The lava throws its red light across both their faces, the heat presses down, and two children stand at opposite ends of a narrow span of metal, blades in hand, and understand that one of them may not leave. For a long moment, neither moves. They simply look at each other across the space, and everything they were passes between them without a word. The laughing young knight and his snippy Padawan, the war-weary general and the soldier he trusted with his life, the mask and the ghost who reached for the man inside it, all of it, held in a single silent gaze over a river of fire. "You don't have to do this," Anakin says at last. His voice is not the voice of a monster. That is what makes it terrible. It is the voice of the boy she loved, pleading, "Step aside. Let me finish it. I can end him, Ahsoka. I can end all of it. I just need you to trust me, one time. That's all I've ever needed from anyone, one person to trust me." "I do trust you," she says, and her eyes are wet. That's the horrible part. I trust you completely. I trust you to love too much, and to be certain you're right, and to decide that the ends are worth any price. Because you always have, in every life, from the very beginning. I'm not standing here because I stopped believing in you, Anakin. I'm standing here because I believe in you exactly. And then there is nothing left to say, and the blades come together. The duel is beautiful, and it is unbearable. They know each other's forms, the way they know their own. Every feint, every favorite, every old habit worn into the muscle across years of sparring. He knows she will spin left off a high block. She knows he overcommits when he's afraid. They fight like two halves of a single mind at war with itself, and neither can gain a decisive edge, because to gain it, one of them would have to be willing to end the other. And again the killing stroke arrives, and again it falters at the last instant, turned aside by a love that neither of them can switch off. The lava roars, the blades scream against each other, and high above, unseen, the spider watches the trap he built begin to close, because he does not need either of them to win. He needs only for one of them to be forced, at last, past the point of hesitation. He needs the killing stroke to finally land, and then he will have his broken, grieving survivor, alone on the black shore, with the body of the one they loved, ready to be filled with whatever the dark chooses to pour in. And it comes to that moment. The story bends toward it with the weight of 2 lifetimes and a whole galaxy pushing. An opening appears, a real one, the kind that does not falter. One of them has the other, truly has them, blade poised, the killing blow a heartbeat away, and the whole future hangs, shivering on whether it falls. This is the point of no return. This is the choice that cannot be unmade. We bring it to the very edge, to the instant where a choice will be made that cannot be unmade. And the entire story, every minute of it, has been building toward this single question. Does knowing the future let you change it? Or are some tragedies written so deeply into the grain of things that even the Force itself, reaching back through time to throw 2 souls into the past, can only make them play the tragedy out again, in a new key and a crueler one? However the final confrontation lands, we honor the truth the story has been telling, because a lie at the end would betray everything that came before. This is not a story with a clean and happy ending. It cannot be, because the entire thesis of it, the thing it has been saying from the first scene in the sand, is that the desperate craving for a clean and happy ending is the exact hunger that damned the galaxy in the first place. Anakin's whole fall began with the refusal to accept loss, the insistence that everyone could be saved, that death could be cheated, that with enough power and enough will, the story could be forced to come out right. To hand him, at the end, the clean victory he always craved would be to agree with the very thing that destroyed him. So maybe it ends another way. Maybe, in the final moment, blades locked, the galaxy hanging on the stroke that neither of them can quite bring themselves to make. Maybe Anakin and Ahsoka find the one thing they lost somewhere back on that ship, the willingness to trust each other, to stop trying to control the future and each other, to lower the blades not in defeat, but in something harder and braver than victory, and to simply stand together against what is coming, the way the Force perhaps meant them to all along. Maybe that is the change that actually matters. Not the mother saved, or the master spared, or the demon slain, but 2 people choosing, at last, to trust, instead of to control. Maybe that is what the Force was reaching for the whole time. Or maybe they don't. Maybe one of them falls. Maybe Palpatine's trap closes exactly as designed, and the survivor is claimed, and the whole terrible wheel begins to turn again. Maybe the Force's gambit simply fails, and the timeline, wounded and diverted and fought over, snaps back toward the tragedy it always wanted to be. Or maybe, and this is the cruelest possibility of all, maybe they win, and it costs them everything they came back to save, and they are left standing in a galaxy they preserved, and a life they emptied, having learned that some prices are paid, whether you see them coming or not. Whatever the ending, this is the truth it leaves us with. The Force did not send Anakin and Ahsoka back to change the past. That was never really the point, however much they believed it was. It sent them back to face the truth that broke them the first time. The truth that no amount of power or foreknowledge can outrun, that you cannot save everyone. That love is not the same thing as control, and the moment you confuse the two, you have already begun to fall, and that the master and the apprentice were always, from the very beginning, going to have to choose between trusting each other and destroying each other, and that this choice, not the pod race, not the duel of the fates, not the fall of the Republic, was the real fork in the road the whole time. Every other change was just noise. This was always the only thing that mattered, and so we leave you with the question the whole story was really asking. If the Force gave you the memory of everything that ever went wrong in your life, every loss, every failure, every person you couldn't save, and then set you back at the very beginning, armed with all of it, would you be strong enough to do it differently? To trust, where before you controlled? To let go, where before you held on until it destroyed you? Or would you simply take all that hard-won knowledge, and all that grief, and all that certainty that this time will be different, and find, in the end, a brand new way to burn?